why I got into Bitcoin. So if you don't know the story, way back at the end of 2010, I I was having a hard time financially. I had a lot of real estate. I had literally at the time, it was pretty impressive to have over $1 million portfolio, which I did, and it was all going down the drain. I had adjustable loan on one property. I had a really bad tenant that took me 18 months to get rid of. The property was only worth about $70,000. They did about $40,000 in damages. Plus, I had to put a foundation on it, all sorts of things to be able to sell it. I reinvested that money into something that held my money up for multiple years after that. And because a good friend was the one who I invested with, I ended up getting some of it back. But anyway, so I had gotten this paper. I was on email lists and stuff like that. I was looking at, I guess they're kind of, I guess today they'd call it the dark web, sort of type sites, fringe sites. Back then it was just big lists and stuff like that. So I was on big lists and news groups and stuff like that. And I had somehow gotten on an email list and started receiving emails from the early Bitcoin group, and had an opportunity to buy some Bitcoin. I didn't really know anything about it. I kept hearing about it. I had read the white paper, and I thought, man, I don't think it's going to become anything. But what really struck a nerve was, I think if this Bitcoin ever takes off, um, well, if it doesn't take off, the government's going to make a digital money and control us. So I thought, man, this Bitcoin is decentralized. The government can't take it over. It's encrypted. They can't take your money away. You have this level of privacy, but yet you have this ledger where you can, see that your transactions took place and all that. So I had bought like a few Bitcoin and a wallet, and I just kind of tucked the email away and forgot about it. And years later, after getting through all that headache of all those properties, selling them at a big loss, and getting through all of that, the financial nightmare that came with that whole process, and then started restarting my life, and actually got married at the end of 2012. And we had a daughter in 2000. We got married at the end of 2000. Was it 12? I think it was 11, and my daughter was born in 2012. So, and then, we moved a couple times, and I had a son. And anyway, fast forward to 2017, and I had, I see Bitcoin going up and hitting these highs, and I'm thinking about it, but I'm just so busy with life. I didn't do anything. And I really wanted to get involved, and I was listening to a lot of videos, and following it, and looking at all the other coins and all the advancements in the cryptocurrency world. And my wife said, "Yeah, have you heard about Bitcoin?" And then I told her, "Hey, I got some somewhere." And she said, "Well, maybe we should do something." And I was like, "Oh, great, just what I want to hear." And so we bought a miner. We got into mining, and I got started investing in all sorts of crazy ideas, and had lost money the first year. Um, the first 6 months, actually, I lost quite a bit of money, and hundreds of dollars, not thousands. And I started to learn my lesson. The Bitcoin miner, I ordered it in 2017. I didn't get it till into 2018. Got that going. Started working on other projects. I was kind of into this one coin called Skycoin. There's a Skycoin now, but they're totally different, and very techy. I was building, little mining units with Raspberry Pis. They're little control boards. I was just get all over the map. But I started going and being, I was a lot more careful. I was like, okay, I got to be more careful. I did really good during the dot-com era. A lot of my friends went broke. I was gambling just like they were, but I did very good. And I just had one trade go like bad, and I couldn't understand why. So I pulled out, and I just pulled out everything. and that was just kind of like God protecting me, I think. And so I ended up doing really good in the .com, and I learned to kind of trust my gut, which it wasn't always working in the beginning with Bitcoin, but as time progressed, you know, I started to look at trends and charts and learning charts a little bit. You know, I'm not a professional, I'm not a financial advisor, but I learn little trends, and some of them are, more dependable than others. And now I'm at the point where, I still think the 4 year cycle is kind of in play, but kind of not. We're kind of slipping out of it. Obviously, we didn't hit the all-time highs that we wanted, and I've mined, back to why I love Bitcoin. I just kept mining and trying all these other coins, and I'd hit, 1 out of 10 I'd hit, and I hit big and make, turn hundreds of dollars or a couple $1,000s into tens of thousands of dollars. And I've done that multiple times, and I've pulled out the money. I put money toward a rental house that's been very good to us. I've put money on paying off one of my wife's vehicles. I just bought a truck. Um, did I do it this year? Not too many months ago. I think this year I bought a little Toyota truck, bought computers, all kinds of things. And, I just keep trickling money in there. And I keep going back to Bitcoin. Like I guess I'm a pseudo Bitcoin maximalist as far as historically. But, every time I go through a cycle, even though I've done good with the cryptocurrencies, I've become more and more of a Bitcoin maximalist. And I have fooled with, strategy and MicroStrategy and Stretch and, different ETFs. And there's pros and cons to those. So be careful. Be careful on those. Those are not guaranteed. They're very risky. But if you play them, I think that they can be very good because MicroStrategy, when Bitcoin was going up, if you were into strategy, Bitcoin would go up 200%, but strategy would go up 400%. But the reverse is true. When Bitcoin goes down, strategy goes down, tanks even worse. And stretch, is supposed to stay stable and pay you about, I think it's gone everywhere from 8 to 13%, currently about 11%. And I've been playing with that, kind of seeing how that works, and a little bit, but I'm not too sure. I think there's another company that does it, and they pay out daily dividends, and I think that might help stabilize the stock price, because on stretch the stock price is supposed to stay at 100, but I've seen it down, below 90, which is kind of scary because, well, there's your 10% is gone. So yeah, I've been experimenting with those, but all in all, I just keep coming back to Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And I've bought a Bitcoin miner. I've experimented with using the heat for my garage. I've used the heat for food dehydrators. I use the heat for greenhouse growing herbs and vegetables throughout the winter. I live in Idaho. We get very cold winters, several feet of snow. And I have another channel called BitGrow where I kind of walk you through some of that. I've experimented with the controls and dampers because I do come from a heating and air conditioning background on a building side where we use these BMS, building management controls, systems. So I've kind of integrated that stuff. I tried to get a grant. I was rejected. I was told I had a good presentation, but they just didn't pick me for whatever reason. Um, I'm sure I could improve on the budget side, but it just keeps bringing me back to Bitcoin, and it just over time, like I have several different accounts, but I look at my Coinbase account that I've had for a long time, where I've bought $20 here, $100 there. If I had a lot of money, maybe I bought 1,000 here or there, and I look and it shows you your average cost over time for Bitcoin, what you're paying, the average. Even if you don't own a whole Bitcoin, it'll say mine, when it was dropping, it said your average price for Bitcoin's $27,000. So it's like, wow, why would you try to guess the market and buy and sell high and low? But I did. Not all of it, but I took a good chunk of my Bitcoin. If you look back at my videos and follow the path that I've been walking with you, I sold quite a bit in the 90s and then in the 80s, and and then I it dropped and it went back up, and I bought in a little bit, not much, but it's like if I was going to sell it, I should have hold it until we went below the 200-week moving day average, and like what we're in right now. Because I just did a video ago or two where it just, you look at the 200-week moving day average, and when you buy below that, like, you don't lose. Now it could be months of a cycle where you're low, and yeah, you could be down during that period, but overall, once the market picks back up again and you get past that, you're usually not going to see those numbers again. Historically, you just don't see it in the charts. So I think that's fairly reliable. Not financial advice. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but here's my path, and we've been putting out videos since the beginning of 2018. I've been demonetized. I've had videos yanked. I had them, blank out my channel, not know why, and just try to get rid of every video. I've gotten rid of so many videos that I wish were still there. And it's been a wild ride. As society is more acceptable of Bitcoin now than they were in 2019. It was just, they just tore us up. 2018, 2019, right around there. And now they let us say a lot more and do a lot more because of the politics that are prevalent. So anyway, that's my Bitcoin kind of quick spew, how I have got into Bitcoin, what I've done with Bitcoin, and I just continually, like right now it's down. I bought $100 here and $100 there, and going to continue to do that during this down market, just dollar cost average as much as I can, and then when it comes back up, hooray, hooray. So that's all I got for you. I just thought I'd share that little path with you. Have a great day. Goodbye.